All right, so under the information and commentaries, we have the first topic in here, which is the public speaking techniques. It is very important to know that the art of public speaking is a fundamental element in tour guiding services. Public speaking means addressing a crowd, engaging with an audience, and delivering a message. Mastering the art of public speaking makes delivering the commentaries less challenging. It is best to prepare the tour guide with strategies that our successful speakers observe and apply before speaking in front of a crowd. The techniques are excellent preparations to bring out the best on you or the best of the tour guide speaking abilities. So what are these techniques? Let us discuss it one by one. The first technique in here is to socialize. When conversing with people, listening and speaking should be balanced. Listening makes one learn from the others, and speaking up also practices one to express himself or herself. What to do? Never ever monopolize the conversation just by talking too much about yourself. It should be avoided. Learn to listen also and converse properly with other people. What else? You can also talk about your hobbies, your profession, the sports that you like most, even the movies that you were able to watch. Travels and other light topics are things that the speaker may learn from. Also, joining speech clubs can also be a way of mastering one's speaking ability. Here in Baguio City, we have the Toastmasters International. Toastmasters is a non-profit organization that gives everyone an opportunity to practice speeches and offers constructive evaluation among the members. This is also a good opportunity for the person to observe others and learn. And if you don't like joining clubs, you can also download powerful and effective speeches from the internet and try to listen and learn from the speeches. Also, socializing also adds to person's network. Okay? Sometimes advancing in one's career is not all about what he or she knows, but whom he or she knows. Kung sino yung mga kakilala mo. Okay? This is in a form of making connections. Take note, new friends and acquaintances may open window of opportunities. Like for example, speaking engagements, right? Socialization also may add an opportunity to get to know powerful and influential people with whom can be your mentor. You know, having a mentor saves a lot of time and effort because mistakes of the mentor before can be prevented and the learning becomes smoother and direct. The second technique is to master your speech or master the speech. Mastering your speech is very important. It is important to note that the audience prefer an engaging speaker and someone who speaks from the heart. In some speeches, the speakers write down a summary of relevant words or phrases in a small piece of paper placed in their pockets so that they can be easily accessible only when needed. In tour guiding services, neither of these support systems are applicable nor encouraged. The tour guide may bring handouts or notes, but it should never read it in front of the guest. Never ever do that one. However, if you want to use photographs or illustrations, it can also uh, be a help for you to be able to explain properly to to the tourist or your clients, because this can also serve as a guide, and at the same time it will serve as a visual aid for your tourist. The third technique is practice. I know that you are familiar with the saying that goes, practice makes perfect. there is no other way to achieve perfection but through practice. One thing is for sure, success is reachable through a perfect effort. Successful public speakers have run through their speeches several times and have poured out their perfect effort to be entirely and confidently ready for their big day. This also goes the same way with the tour guides. Of course, before you're going to conduct your tour, you have to be ready. You have also to memorize your commentaries so that if you're going to deliver it, it would be perfect. It would be successful. So some of the following tools are can be used in achieving perfection. The first one is by using a mirror. Just like the dancers, practicing in front of the mirror is going to be a great help. So you can also practice in front of the mirror for you to be able to perfect your pronunciation, your articulation, projection also, and that will include your eye contact, the blocking, the gestures that you're going to use, and of course your facial expression. Another, record yourself. If you're going to deliver your speech, you can also try to record yourself. In a way, you can also, in a way of monitoring your progress. Okay? Having a record of yourself is a good way of learning from your previous mistakes because of course if you're going to play your recorded speech, you can see or you can hear your mistakes and try to make it perfect. All right? And another is getting an audience. It is also recommended to invite your friends maybe or your family members to evaluate your speech or your commentaries. Since of course they're a concerned audience, their inputs are generally fair and for your benefit. So try to also to accept every suggestion as a constructive criticism. All right? Another tip, take care of your voice. Speakers should know how to take good care of their vocals because our voice is our valuable assets as tour guides, as speakers. Just like the runners, their most valuable assets are their legs. Painters also, their valuable assets are their hands. So, as tour guides or as speakers, we have to take care of our valuable assets, which is our voice, all right? So that we would be able to deliver our speech or our commentaries very well. Remember, coughing and having a raspy voice is not a good indication. It's not good also in delivering your speech because it could be very distracting. So what are the things that you should do in maintaining your healthy and appealing voice? The first tip that you can do is to drink plenty of water. This is the simplest but the most effective way of keeping a speaker hydrated. All right, so you can take 8 glasses of water every day and make that as a habit. Also, avoid caffeinated and alcoholic drinks, all right? Because these drinks can actually cause dryness to the throat. You need also to get enough rest, all right? You need to relax before your big day or before the tour for you to be able to energize your body and of course your mind. What else? Munch on some chips because chips can actually help grease your mouth and prevents it from dryness after speaking for a long time. But of course, this is best also if you're going to pair it with good amount of water. Another, aim for a balanced diet. Maintaining a good amount of green leafy vegetables, fruits, and even whole grains into the diet will provide nutrition that our body needs to be healthier and wiser. In addition, you have to avoid spicy and acidic food because this can actually cause heartburn and acidic indigestion. And you should also avoid smoking. One of the major causes of oral cancer is smoking. It actually damages the mouth, the lips, your tongue, your throat, your palate, your cheeks, and even a life-threatening. So, it's very important that for a speaker, you need also to avoid smoking because this can actually cause bad breath and dryness of throat and discoloration of your lips and teeth. Of course, you don't like to do that, to have that, right? Speaking in front of the people, and then, of course, they can see your mouth, they can see your teeth. It's not good, right? What else? Do not stress your vocals. Avoid overusing your vocals, just like shouting or constant speaking for a long period of time. This can actually strain your voice. All right? So if your voice is already hoarse or it seems tired, then it is best to have it rested. All right? So these are the things that you should bear in mind in order to maintain healthy and appealing voice. The fifth one, visualization or imagery. There's this quote that says, thoughts become words, words become actions, and actions lead to destiny. As tour guides, you should also think vividly exactly what you want. You should have an unwavering faith and imagine that it has been received. Take note, before the speech, the speakers should visualize himself or herself to be persuasive and confident and feel that the audience is nodding and applauding. Okay? While it is undeniably important to be prepared for untoward incident in tour guiding services, it will also be very helpful to be optimistic and apply the principle of visualization. Just like public speakers, the same techniques mentioned are applicable in tour guiding services. The tour guide should also create a positive mental image of a successful and smooth tour. If the mind believes, then of course, the body will be in full workout to achieve it. Of course, in spiritual terms, believing is simply putting one's faith in God. This means saying a prayer before the performance and, of course, in trusting that God provides what is best for the person is also very important. And the last technique is breathing. Breath is the core of speech. If one does not know how to breathe properly, he or she will not be able to produce the sound of the speech accurately. So, it is best to apply the central breathing, sorry. This actually uses the combination of a costal breathing and a diaphragmatic breathing. A coastal breathing is it is centered on the ribs, while a diaphragmatic breathing is through the diaphragm. So using this technique will actually produce better voices if you're going to deliver your commentaries or your speeches. All right, so moving on. We have the pointers and delivering your commentaries. It is good to know that there are already available strategies in public speaking for the tour guides to adopt before their tour. Preparations are helpful, but it is more important also to learn the basics of the actual tour. So the following are just some of the pointers and techniques that you can also emphasize in order to deliver an effective commentary to your tourists. All right, the first one, aim for an organized train of thought. So it is very important that you have to be organized in delivering your commentary. You have to follow a sequence. We were able to discuss on our previous lessons that commentaries are composed of an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, right? So we have what we call the obligatory commentaries, or also known as required commentary. So these commentaries are normally delivered during the introductions. We also have the factual commentaries that form the body of the commentary, and requested commentaries that are normally concludes the tour script, and non-obligatory remarks may be inserted as a flavor to any part of the commentary. So, if there is a pattern being followed, then it is less likely for the tour guide to get lost during the delivery of his or her commentary. Just follow the sequence and you will not get lost. So, it is suggested that an ideal pattern to follow when narrating a tour script is the storytelling concept. So in your storytelling concept, you can do the first one, create a powerful opening. It is very important for you as a tour guide to create your first good impression to set a striking momentum. This is done by starting the tour spiel with a powerful opening that will instantly engage your tourist. All right? Another is you have to create a powerful ending. The end goal of a tour guide is to inspire and be able to leave a very memorable experience to the tourist. In order for a commentary to be fulfilling, the tour guide's message should leave an impact to the tourist's whole being and learning. A tour guide is even more effective if he or she wraps up the commentary by making the guest act or apply what they learned during the tour. So it's very important that you should not only create a powerful opening, but also create a powerful ending. Second one, tell a story, live a memory. It takes a very creative mind to come up with a commentary that will keep your tourists interested. Creating a tour script is not an easy task. So, adapting the power of a story concept can actually help you in narrating your speeches or your commentaries. This way, delivery can be easier and, of course, it could be fun. So, listening also becomes more exciting and engaging. So, your tourists will actually participate if your commentaries are not that boring, of course. Tour guides must remember that commentaries are not just memorized tour scripts, but more importantly, they are shared stories. It's like you are telling a story that is for fun. But of course, commentaries' main purpose is to inform and educate, but it should also be convincing. It should also be unpredictable. All right? Remember, no matter how great the script is or your tour spiel, if the delivery is not convincing, then it becomes just a memorized data. Alright? This also go the same way when faced with delivering an impromptu spiel or impromptu commentary. During the tour, there will be tourists that may ask all sorts of questions. Some could be sensible, some could be offensive, or some may be just a funny remarks. When this happen, it is best to answer them immediately. Again, quick thinking or prompt thinking and talk must be practiced at all times. Whatever kind of questions or remarks that will be thrown at you, remember to follow the pattern of telling a story so that you will never get lost along the way. And of course, your commentary should done with sincerity and enthusiasm. Okay? Because the whole tour experience becomes a very memorable experience and it will definitely leave a memory. The third one, communicate your thoughts well. In order for a tour guiding service to be successful, it is important to have a great communication skills. As the first principle of public speaking goes, a person is only as effective as his communication. While it is ideal to deliver commentaries fluently, remember not all tourists can understand English very well. Furthermore, not all tour guides also speaks English confidently. Fluency and accuracy in a language is good. However, if tour guides commit considerable mistakes in the language, but they are able to send their message across and they are understood by the tourist, then communication has transpired. What matters most is that the tourists understand what you are delivering to them. In some instances, shortcomings on vocabulary, your tonality, and grammar among tour guides may be tolerated, but as much as possible, the tour guides must pronounce names and important terminologies properly. Also, clarity of words and coherence with the message are important in communicating a comprehensible commentary. The fourth one, ask questions. In public speaking, inserting questions during the presentation will keep the audience on their toes, and same goes also in tour guiding, especially during tour. Of course, the tourists do not want to be humiliated when they are called and then they were not able to answer. So, when questions are being asked, they already begin to think, and this is one way of engaging them to participate in the tour. Asking questions is also a good opportunity to gauge the tourist understanding and reception of the message. So the tour guide may ask the audience or the tourist in general, or uh, you may ask also the tourist about their opinion, like that, or ask an individual or one tourist about something, all right, so that they will feel that they are being engaged in the tour. All right, number five, spice it up with humor. In tour guiding, there are two purposes of incorporating humor and commentaries. The first one, this is to entertain and preoccupy the guest. All right, telling jokes is one of way of doing this to entertain and engage your tourists. Jokes are meant to amuse and make people laugh by using anecdotes or punchlines or even exaggeration. Right? Another is to inform or relay a message through humor. Take note also that professional humorous speakers do not just tell jokes. They use humor to effectively illustrate their message. Alright? So humor makes guests more interested in listening. They always look forward to the next punchline, and while waiting, they're able to grasp facts and information along the way as well. Humor is indeed helpful in delivering a lively commentary, but it can also be detrimental. You have to be very careful when and how to use your jokes because they should never be racist, they should never be dirty, they should never be sexist, they should never be rude, never be discriminating, and most importantly, not demeaning. Okay? Humor spices up the tour. However, always remember that it should be just an accessory to the commentary and not all about making jokes. Let's move on with lesson 4, complaints and other emergencies. Even if we're going to follow the itinerary, certain unavoidable events may trigger some changes. The tour guide, with his or her optimum leadership and management skills, has to apply contingency plans if the need arises. So you should always be ready with the change of routes, assign some tourists as support, or even rearrange sequence of the itinerary if necessary. Alright, so regardless of the circumstance, the tour guide should be ready with important numbers, emergency numbers to call during these unexpected incidents. Just for example, uh, you should have the list of alternative suppliers or the nearest police stations, even the number of the ambulance, the hospitals, and other important authorities. Alright, so tour guides are the first respondents to any emergency. Take note of that. So you should not panic. You should always be calm. All right? And you should also be equipped with the first aid measures. All right? This is a must for tour guides. All right? So moving on, managing tours. How are you going to manage tour? There are just some examples in here of circumstances that may possibly arise during a tour. So let's try to see how are we going to handle these emergencies and unexpected disasters. The first one is the unavailability of vehicle or vehicle breaks down. For whatever reason that the bus or the van is not able to come, the tour guide must have other contacts of sources of vehicles. If also the vehicle breaks down, you have to gather your tourists in a safe place. That's the first thing that you have to do. And you also have to contact immediately the vehicle owner or the supplier. Okay? It is also ideal to contact the driver a day before and maybe an hour before the driver's expected time of arrival. It is very important to be alert and be solutions ready. So you have to inform your tour operator about the situation immediately. This does not only show courtesy to your employer, but also to the company. May have procedure to follow and contingency plans ready for deployment. The second one, delays caused by road constructions, parades, strikes, and accidents. There are certain events on the road that may be unplanned, like the what we mentioned, strike maybe, or road closure due to accidents, or even a simple flat tire. In these situations, it is best to determine the cause of delay and check for further developments. If, for example, there is a strike of a company and it becomes larger in scope and it seems like it will not be resolved immediately or finished right away, then as tour guide and driver, you may have to take an alternate route. Right? So the teamwork between the driver and guide is very important in this situation. It's very crucial. The tour guide's ability to keep the guests preoccupied comes into play. So this is a time for you to bring out your tricks on how are you going to make your tourists preoccupied. All right? Maybe you can offer a sing-along set, right? What's important is you will try to engage your tourist during this situation. Third one, tour guide cannot communicate properly. It is an advantage if a tour guide knows another language. Tour operators in the beginning assign the most fit tour guide for a specific group of tourists. However, there can be a mixture of nationalities in the tour group. And if the other tourists are not confident enough or not used with the language that is being used, this will be a challenge for the tour guide. First of all, a tour guide must be proficient in English language, as this is the international language that we are using. So it's very important for a tour guide to be proficient in English language. Tour guides also must be resourceful. They can ask about other tourists if they know how to interpret certain words, and they can also show pictures or illustrations of important events and places that can describe the place for them to be able to relay the message properly and correctly, of course. The fourth one, theft or victim of pickpockets. Aside from safety, security of the tourists and their property is another major concern of the tour guides. Even if the tour guides have reminded the tourists always to be very, very vigilant of their properties, incidents like this theft or victim of pickpockets cannot be avoided at all times. So, for example, in an hotel, if there is an availability of safety deposit boxes, then tour guides should encourage the guests to use these boxes. When theft happens inside an establishment, you have to inform the security right away, and you have to assist your tourist in all means, even when securing a police report. The same is true if there is a snatching and pickpocketing incidents that happen. The fifth one, no reservation or incomplete reservations. Sometimes, even if the tour operators have successfully organized the tour, some lapses may happen on the supplier side. So this can actually be prevented if the tour guide has the contact number of all the suppliers together with, of course, the statement of accounts, the computation of the bill that was issued by the supplier to the tour operator, so that the guides can actually contact the supplier at least 30 minutes prior to the arrival regarding their whereabouts to make sure that the supplier is prepared for their arrival. 6. Accidents, misfortune, and disaster. There are times that no matter how careful the driver is, there will be still an accident or a disaster that may happen at any time during a tour. There may be disaster that may be life-threatening, and it should be dealt carefully and immediately. For example, a misfortunes. For example, a collision of vehicles wherein one or more tourists get hurt, a tourist getting run over, or maybe a drowning tourist. So what are we going to do as tour guide? If this happens, you have to make sure that other passengers are instructed to calm down and look for a doctor or a nurse among the crowd who can assist you. Also, you have to report the accident to the authorities and even your tour operator with, of course, complete whereabouts and details. It is also good to check driver and tourist and assess if they have been, if they need to be brought to the hospital. All right. So while in the hospital or medical facility, make sure that measures are undertaken. What are this one? Report incident to the police and notify relatives of the tourist. Alright? Remember, accidents cannot be predicted, but it can be prevented. Alright? As the saying goes, prevention is better than cure. So it's important that you have to give ample reminders and precautions to your tourist. Alright? And the last one, death. There will also be time when death happened during a tour, even if all means of reviving the patient has been exhausted. It may be caused by many factors like accidents or even a medical condition like a heart attack or a stroke. So if this happens, you have to report to the tour operator immediately. Also, you need to notify the family members of the tourist and also arrange for transfer to a hospital maybe or a morgue, and you have to secure a police report. If also family permits, then you can extend assistance in the funeral services. If your tourist is a foreigner, you have to report to the nearest embassy. And another, if a travel insurance was availed by the tourist, make sure that all reports are complete and accurate for immediate processing of the claims.